Welcome also to Professor Saouli. He teaches history of architecture at the University of Biskra. You know him very well, our students not so, but he wants to present us his work about water management in Biskra. It's a great pleasure for us to have our Professor Saouli, that I just know last year, and then we ascolto, we écoute your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I thank everybody. It's a big pleasure for me to be here. Today I am trying to give a small presentation about the different water exploitation systems in the south of Algeria, and in particularly the region of Biskra. This intervention has been first time given in Coimbra in September 2016. There was a seminar organized by the International Water Association. So we and me and Professor Dali and Professor Debabesh, who are three teachers, we presented this intervention during this event of the International Water Association. Biskra, the University of Biskra, has a project, a second project. We have a project with the University of Padova, and we have also another project with the University of Lisbon in Portugal about water historical systems. And when we went to Lisbon, it was in this prospect. It was in this prospect. So, and we think maybe next year we will organize an international seminar in Biskra about the all ancient water exploitations in the world, because it will be an international seminar, and in particular in Algeria. Okay. So, as I said, this work is done by three of us, Dali, Omar, myself, and Debabesh Mahmoud. So, the first part is a broad presentation of Algeria. Let's say what this large area, Algeria, because of its superficie, of its area, very big. It's now the largest country in Africa. Also, its geographical situation, and also multicultural society, because we have got links in the north with Europe and in the south with Africa. And this is a particular place for, and also a diverse geography. Algeria, you find all the climates, from the north to the south and from the east to the west. So Algeria forms a unique space where the capacities and the knowledge to use the resource of water are well demonstrated and recognized. These are particularly multiform, so different forms, and are developed by the local communities around the country. The ones found in the west are different from the ones found in the east. And I said from the east to the west, from the north to the south, different ways to use water is observed. So what we think, the richness of our country in this matter is our contribution to the human sociability and to the human ingenuity found around the world. So we have got a special position if we compare Algeria to the other parts of the world. Second thing is most of the country is situated in an arid zone, in Saharan lands. So it has got particular interests. What we found in the south, because of the climate, because of the geography, and because of the people living there, it is different from what it is in the north or on the mountains. 80% of the land of Algeria is situated between latitude 35 and 25 north. So it is more south. And most of the typology of the man living in the south is the oasis. I mean, the oasis is the main human living pattern. So throughout all the regions, as I said, we find different traditional systems created, produced, and improved by human knowledge, experience, and hard work. These traditional systems have minimum environmental impact and are nature-friendly and are taking into account the ecological, socio-economic, and cultural environment. They had, over the long history of Algeria, assured sufficient water supply to local people living in very difficult areas with hot temperatures. These traditional systems form actually an important traditional heritage. That's the importance of these systems. It is an heritage that we need to protect, we need to conserve, we need to learn about. This heritage is inexhaustible, a source of techniques and knowledge, discoveries and solutions for the future. Because if we protect these, it's not only to see them as a museum, but also to learn from these techniques. Donc, therefore, they should be inventoried, studied, evaluated, and protected to be able to save for the next generations. So one has to bear in mind that throughout history, and particularly in the difficult, not to say hostile environment of the South, has been developed an admirable know-how and savoir-faire to feed the local population and, more important, to manage the available water resource. Just a reminder, this savoir-faire, this knowledge, this know-how benefited from three contributions. The Roman contribution, I think that is our common interest. The Arab contribution starting 7th century. And then, after, let's say, the departure of the Muslim and the Jews from Spain during the 15th century, also these have contributed to make this, or to create new systems of water exploitation. Here we have put this comparison because we took it from a book by Pietro Loriano. Maybe some people know about him. he wrote the atlas, or water atlas, and he make the different the comparison between the modern knowledge and traditional knowledge. You can see the differences that exist between the modern and the traditional. And I think we, to protect these systems, we have to look for traditional knowledge. We have to, because of the characteristics, multifunctional and holism, autonomy, integration, etc. I mean, so we think it is very important that our work should be guided by these values. As I said, the oasis is the main human settlement model found in the desert of Algeria. And some history in the oasis can be found closely linked to the processes between man and nature. The ancient place where the system has been discovered has been identified with Bahrain, that's in the in the Arabian Persian Gulf, according to Closio, 1988. The island has been cultivated since the 6th millennium, and at the end of the 4th, it was organized around an accomplished economy typical of an oasis. So the first type of oasis found in this place, and it involves the palm grove agriculture, which means date palm groves. I mean, the palm, we're speaking about date palm. Fishing and pastoralism, and all this is made by, we found them in Closio and L'Oréal, 1999. In the south of Algeria, we have, let's say, 3 types of oases. An oasis around a river, what we call the Wadi oasis. We have Gardaya in the middle. Biskra is the oasis just situated along the river of Biskra, or the river Sidi Zarzour. Also, we have Khangat Sidi Naji, etc. Donc, this type of oasis use the large river bed of a dried up river. That is the first type. The second type is the erg oasis. The erg is a kind of sand hill, sand land. And here we have Territ, Nia, Golea, Al-Wad, all they are in the very heart of the sandy desert. This is the 2 types of oasis. And the third is the Sabkha. Sabkha is a low land, sometimes below the level of sea. And we have got salt growing up. And here we have in the southeast of Algeria what we call Wedrir, Tougourt, Tmessine. They are the third type of oasis. So each type has its own water production method, how to catch water, how to take it to irrigate the palm grove, according to a general sharing system, to bring water to the dwellings for men and animals, the well, the system of tunnel, Hugara, and also the sporadic flooding of the river. We have not a very good, maybe, map, but according to geographs, but it shows how big is Algeria, how large it is, and also the different geographical differences between the north and the south. When we talk about Biskra, we're talking about this region here. When we spoke about the Sabkha oasis, it's all this region, which is Giri. Here it's really below water below sea level. The first type, or the second type, the erg oasis, is mainly situated in this region here. The different water exploitation and use systems. So, as I said, the variety of climates, the diversity of landscapes and landforms, and the cultural specificity of each region have, through centuries, allowed the communities of these arid regions to create series of ingenious systems that have defined time and space and have allowed men to survive and create a broad circular culture of water. We have got the wells. We explain now. The mines, the Fugara as a system, the streams, the river or small rivers and all small streams. In Biskra we call it Segia, Saqiya in Arabic. The floods and the roads. These are the main ways to exploit or to use the water system. Starting with the wells, the system is usually located in the oasis of the erg. I mean, the second type I talked about. Gardaya, Tarit, Golia, Tugut. We find wells all over and water is used from these wells. We found here some old pictures showing how to use these wells. Here it's in Gardaya, Gardaya in the middle of the Sahara. The wells sometimes are used with a pool or a basin, so they use water and the water comes to the basin, then it is distributed to different. Sometimes you find many wells just beside each other. Actually, now, some of these wells are full of, empty of water, let's say. No water in them, and sometimes the water is polluted, and the system doesn't work very much as it worked at a certain time. Here we have a well from the colonial period in the river of Biskra, Wed Sidi Zarzor or Wed of Biskra, and you see sort of building built to protect the well. The second system is the Fugara. Fugara mainly found in the region of Adrar and Timimon, which is the west-south, near the frontiers with Morocco in particular. Donc, the region of Adrar and Timimon, and it helps to transport water by gravity from the source to the land and palm for irrigation. An ancestral system of catching water, and we can find writings about Fugaras by many people, old writers, Polybius, Vitruvius, and also some Arab Muslim writers who describe the system. Here you find the different wells, and there are landmarks on the soil. These wells, or this, let's say, to permit the air, and also to permit the streaming of the water. You can see a satellite picture of Adrar, and you see how these wells are distributed, or for maybe for kilometers. So in the Adrar region, we have sort of parade of Fugaras. I have taken these just to show how a Fugara works, how the first well, and then how the water table, and then the water table goes and irrigate. So this is just a diagram to show how it works. Here it's called Fugara or Qanat. Qanat is the Arab word used particularly in Iran. In Persia, they use, instead of Fugara, they use the name of Qanat. Qanat Kamal. So it's also just to, we have here the aerial view. We show before, according to the region of Adrar, and here the diagram from the water production, transport production, and then the irrigation of the fields. We have also these pictures to show how the situation is actually. I mean, some of these wells are not in a good state, and they know a bad situation. At the end of the Fugara, the water is then distributed in a sharing system, in a fair sharing system, in the palm, to the palm groves. The interest of the palm groves is not from now. I mean, it's from the period of the French, and some of these Fugaras have been restored. I mean, since 1890, and we have some maintenance work which has been done on some of them. The third system is the system of roads. Road is considered as an artificial crater. I mean, it's a hole inside the sand. It's what we say. The systems, generally, we have water, we bring water to the plant. Now it's the plant who goes to the water. So we have to dig until we arrive at a certain level where the water can be taken from the plant. I mean, the plant here is the palm tree. I mean, the palm tree. So it's an artificial crater to dig pits to catch water. It can, if water can't climb upwards, because so we have to go to slope down to the water. And it is a very hard work. That's what I said in the beginning. Very hard work to do that. Because every year you have to take the sand from, because of the wind, because of so it is very hard work. So here the region of El Wed is the southeast region of Biskra, of Algeria, and if you see, that is the land we found, and there are small craters, and also when they are like this, they protect themselves because it is a system of protection against wind. This is also the situation. So if you have an aerial view of the region of El Wed, there are small spots on the sand, in the sand. Now, these roads have to compete, let's say, because new ways of doing agriculture has been imported to the region, and we use the new water systems with electricity, etc. And you see now it's nearly the same area, circular, but it's not circular. It's not the same way to use water. Now we have water which is digged in maybe 200 meters or 300 meters, and it goes up on the top of the and you see the circular. It's I don't know how to call it in English. The pivot water, circular water. It goes around to irrigate a piece of land, and now instead of cultivating date palms, we cultivate potatoes, we cultivate pepper, and so inside the sand. It is, let's say, what we call it. I think it's extraordinary. In the sand, how to cultivate potatoes without any nutritive elements. You have just to add engrais, to add chemical to grow pepper, to grow. And it is now, this region is one of the big regions of potatoes, of tomato, and contradictions of modernity. I mean, that's why I put the two tables. I mean,
may I ask a question?
What?
How large the diameter of this?
It is large. You mean the wood or this?
The wood and
the wood. It depends. It has not got. But this, the large, the area is the area of the pivot. I mean, I don't know how to say. Maybe 100 meters because it goes around. So all of them, they are similar because they use the same material.
Thank you.
So the road system doesn't mean only agriculture. Near the road also we have inhabitants, we have housing, we have people living there. When with the modern exploitation, people they use the car to go to their agrarian place and then go. But for the road, the men live near the place where to. So near the road, we found small inhabitant units where they put dates. I just make it in between brackets. We study these housing systems, and they are particular to the road system. I mean, they are particular to the road system. Now, as I said, the first competition between they have to compete against the new way, and also they have to compete against nature. You see, some people, they are, let's say, fed up, they are tired, so they leave, and now the crater is full of sand. And you see just the tips, the head of the palms on the top. Here you find on this side the roads, the form, and on this side you find the new exploitations. And sometimes it's the road or the street between them. As I said, the arrival of new agrarian trends, the roads are replaced by other modern systems and other more profitable crops. pivot irrigation system, and especially the culture of large-scale potato. And second, another problem facing those is the boiling the water, using the water waste, the wastewater of the city is coming up. So it's filling these craters, and we have this sort of plants growing all around those in this region, and it is a very ecological problem actually. The other system is the streams. The streams within the oasis. What we call stream, in Biskra we call it Sagia. In Arabic we call Saqiya. It's irrigation channels, small canals flowing in the open air. I mean, they are not covered. They are, and they allow the flow of water from its sources to the palm grove. And particularly Biskra is known for this type of irrigation. Not now. I'm speaking about 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Actually, all these channels are covered, and not only covered, they are not used at all. At a certain time, they were used for a deposit of the wastewater from the houses. So the situation is different. But I'm speaking about the traditional way. So here we have old pictures of Biskra at a certain time, where we have on both sides of the channel the houses, and in the middle you have the stream, and the stream from a source to the palm grove. From the source to the palm grove. Later I show you how it is used in Biskra. The other system is the floods. I mean, they use water to use barriers, or to use to make water come, and then use it for irrigation. And we found this particularly in the region of Mzab, Ghabdaya, and they have very ingenious methods to how to use the flooding water when the river comes. So it's like a dam, I mean, a traditional dam. So water recuperation from floods, and then the water recuperated can be used for irrigation, to irrigate the palm groves, as I said. Until now, that is a broad presentation of Algeria. Now we speak about the region of Biskra. So in blue, you found the region of Biskra, and as I said, it has an important heritage, architectural, urban, and water has always been considered as the main element around which the city was built. This has been true since the Roman period, from which some relics still exist. We talked about it just this morning. Biskra is situated at the limit of the Limes, a fortified line protecting the desert, the rather poor south of the Roman provinces of the Maghreb. I took this, maybe you know it better than me, the limits of the Limes from the east, and we are Becerra, it's around here. Bades, 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers from Biskra, Tahouda, all these places are. Ça, c'est le parcours géographique du Limes, the geographical parcours of the Limes. It's here we have an horizontal layout of the Limes, how it should work, or in theory or in reality. I don't know if some of these elements still exist or not. Maybe you know that better than me. And panoramic reconstruction of the Limes with some, let's say, forts. Some are small people live, some. I think this is the work that waits for us. During the Roman period, we have some Roman thermal relics, and this relic this is inside the university. It's in the middle of the university. Professor Zanovello have seen Caravello also seen them. We have the archaeological site of Bades, and with some Roman citerns of the region of Bades. And we have the Roman bridge, even if it has been many times restored, of El Cantara. Cantara is a small city north of Biskra, about half an hour driving. During the Turkish period, the pre-colonial periods, the city was an ensemble of traditional dwellings located within the palm grove. You can see all this was green, and the streams I talked about they were running to irrigate the whole palm groves of the city in a very good way, which is not actually. As I said, Biskra can be considered as a place where several civilizations existed. The attachment of the city to the palm grove is not to demonstrate. During the Ottoman period, the city was built within the palm grove, showed a symbiosis which resulted in the existence of a successful and beautiful city. The city was a built settlement, as a built settlement ceased to exist, partly due to the outbreak of plague in 1670. There was a disease, the city was one. And then after the disease, it has, let's say, the outbreak of the disease. People, they left the city and they went to live in different spots. That's why you see here, the one spot, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They are small cities, small settlements. Some of them still exist until now, the names, but actually now all these places form one place because of urbanization. Donc, as I said, the city as a built settlement ceased to exist, partly due to the outbreak of plague in 1670, and which caused the death of over 7,000 people at that time. The Ottoman governor at this period ordered to leave the city, which broke up in 7 villages, 7 settlements, scattered engineeringly within the palm grove. These villages has been designed as compact groups around 2 generating elements of the local form. So these villages or these settlements, we have the mosque, because it is the main building of the settlement, and we have the stream, Segia, because as we show it in the pictures. Donc the mosque along pathways or now streets called Zqar, House Zqar, and the Segia, the stream, irrigating the gardens, and which regulated all constructions. This system of living, it's partly unique in Algeria, and we found it only in Biskra. But I say, no more, it doesn't exist actually, because as I said, the mosque, we don't have only one mosque actually, we have many mosques, and the stream, Segia, is anymore, now it's covered and it doesn't exist. This, you can see sort of a linear settlement around the street and Segia, and the house, the back of the house gives to the garden, so this picture represents the foundation of the oasis town planning that is based on coexistence between habitat and the housing, place of regeneration and the renewal of energy, and the palm grove as an economic support. The exclusivity of this cohabitation is owned by the city of Biskra. This plan on organization can't be found elsewhere in the other country oases. It represents the image of spatial organization based on the urban development, utilizing vernacular techniques and local materials. Here are the 7 villages I told. We have Bab Darb, Msid, here is the mosque and the river, the stream, and Gaddasha. We have, maybe I don't have the pictures, Bab al-Fath, and all the 7 villages I told you about. Now, in the region of Biskra, we found these water systems. First of all, we have the water reservoirs at the level of water courses, rivers. And during the French, the water system comes from the source, which is at the north, and then brings l'eau potable to drinkable water to the houses, and brings also the water to irrigate. As you see here, l'urbanisme en échiquier, or plant gris plan. And it has done the opportunity to have not only a palm grove around the city, but also to have very nice gardens in the city inside. We have the public garden, and also we have the London Garden London, Jardin London, which are 2 beautiful gardens inside the city. As you see how it is, the sharing system from the Segia in small pools, and then it goes to every owner of the land. Now, the French brought also new ways to export, and one of them is to build dams. Here is the dam of from Al Ghaza, 10 kilometers away from Biskra, which is in the 50s. I mean, it was built, but mainly to irrigate a region, the eastern region of Biskra, but also for electricity, for production of electricity. The French also brought with them the way how to use artesian wells, and we have new artesian well construction systems all around the city. Some pictures of not only Biskra but also of the region of Biskra. And we have the oasis of Kandara. This is north of Biskra, as I said, 40 kilometers north of Biskra, with a lot of remains from the Roman period. We have about 20 kilometers beginning of the Ores mountain. We have the oasis of Mshunsh, the canyon of Hofi. All these are in the Ores, the Ores mountain. And the canyon of Jemina also. So this is my presentation. As a conclusion, let's say, I would speak about the Department of Architecture of Biskra. September 2012, we have a master degree called Urban and Architectural Heritage in the Sahara. And the students, some of the students, they are a production, let's say, of this master, Urban and Architectural Heritage in the Sahara. It's a 2-year master. It was in the Sahara, so it is an opportunity to study the region of Biskra, for it numerous relics inherited from Roman times through the Muslim period, medieval, to a more recent time, that is of the French colonization. So we have these 3 main periods. And it gave, I mean, here we put 150 buildings. I think now there are more than 200. Different kind of buildings, mosques, zawiya, which is mausolate of Marabout, homes, houses, schools, and the administrative buildings, hotels, etc. All these studies are particular historic monography. We use a monographic study with surveys and drawings of the current state of the buildings, and we make also proposals how to rehabilitate these houses or these buildings. Starting in September 2014, we have a doctoral degree, LMD PhD. This LMD PhD is Heritage and Environment. So it allowed us to have students who can make PhD thesis. Some of them are here. And we hope that this experience will continue, in particularly with, let's say, the cooperation of Padova and other. And moreover, I believe that it is necessary to develop a research project on the management of water in the Roman Algeria, based on the analysis of literary, biographic, geographic, and legal sources, and the comparison of this with archaeological data. Thank you for attention.